This is what they've all been waiting for, Peter. The Open. The 2018 Mr. Olympia Open class. Peter, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, here we are, Phil Heath trying to go for the 8th title to equal Ronnie and Lee Haney. And let's be honest, 2011, his first Olympia win, I would put that as one of the all-time great physiques ever. He hasn't quite hit that, since, but he's still been good enough to beat everybody else. But I have a feeling that the last 2 or 3 years, he's had the hernia, he's had that operated on, relationship changes, commercial problems and everything. This year, it seems the decks have been cleared. I speak to him regularly, and I can pick up a sort of 100% focus he's got now. Not that he wasn't before, but there was too much going on. Now it's all narrowed down. He hasn't been doing all these guest posing spots deliberately to focus on getting ready for this. He's heard all the criticisms, and I think when he wants to stand on the same plinth as Ronnie and Lee, he wants to say, yeah, people say, yeah, he deserves it. That was absolutely fantastic. Not, oh, well, he just rubber stamped it again. So I expect to see great things from him. I really do. It's his to lose, as it has been the last few years. I mean, he is such a phenomenon. He's got everything. But I think he's going to sort of unveil something we haven't seen before, which will be absolutely amazing to see.
So you think this is going to be, if not one of the greatest Phil Heath packages we've ever seen, maybe the greatest Phil Heath package ever, as he ties that record?
There's more chance of that happening, his best ever this year, than I think for the last 3 or 4 years. I think he could, duplicate 2011, maybe even beat it, and that would be something to see.
Now, he also has a huge train that's been rumbling down the tracks here, and that's one Mr. Big Ramy. The knock has been he hasn't had the detail and the separation and the conditioning throughout his physique, and the back isn't quite where it needs to be for a guy that size. It's crazy that we're even saying that. But each of the last 3 years now, he has made substantial improvements in all of those areas. Can he dethrone the champ? Is he going to improve that much more again to where Phil maybe does it again this year, but he doesn't break the record next year? Where do we see this thing going? And as well as William Bonek, who the two of them now have been battling back and forth. But you want to talk about complete opposites. You got Bonek and Ramy standing next to each other, and you're looking at an apple and an orange, and they're flanking Phil.
Yeah. I mean, Big Ramy burst on the scene 2013 that big, and he hadn't been that long. So it's been a case of, getting the refinement and everything. I felt 2 years ago, at the Friday pre-judging, I mean, he was 290 or something, but he was a bit flat at 290. But on the Saturday, he sharpened up, and I think he finished 3rd or 4th that year. But he was pushing Phil all the way on that Saturday night. So he can get close. He can get close. He's made improvements. But whereas his improvement curve 2013, so last year, was pretty rapid, he's maxing out now. I mean, we've seen recent shots. His back has improved. The detail is there. But it's not got that deep, carved in detail, really deep separation that Phil has. He dwarfs him. But things like even the rear double biceps or the or even the front lat spread is massive. But there's a canvas that hasn't got the etchings. You're still working on it, not like somebody like Phil has and Dexter has. They've got all those. He's driven. There's a picture of him just popped up. He's in Vegas now. He looks like Skeletor. So facially, so there's going to be no body fat there. Keeps that waist tight. He's going to get a tremendous crowd reaction. We'll just have to see what happens when him and Phil Heath stand together.
You know, it's so interesting, Peter, because we're talking about one of the largest bodybuilders, if not the largest bodybuilder to step on stage, and we're talking about refinement and detail. Yet we tend to hear this on a national level as well. I want to be big, I want to be big, I want to be big, and not paying attention to the refinement and the details. Is that maybe a big part of what has William Bonac where he needs to be? Obviously, there's size there, the big, round, full muscle bellies. But with William, you do tend to see a lot of detail and deep-rooted separation almost everywhere in his physique.
Yeah. If I had to say, guarantee one guy who's going to be in shape, guarantee it would be William Bonac. He's going to hit it. He's got that gnarly physique, that gnarly muscle. He hasn't got the greatest structure. But if you look at him the last few years, he was 15th at one Olympia, he should have been top 10. He was 8th, he should have been. So he's moved up all the time to the point that he's 3rd. Now he's beaten Dexter Jackson. He's going to be on. Neil Hill will not allow him not to be on, and neither will William. So whereas we have maybe Phil could be this, Phil could be, I'm telling you, William Bonac will be in shape, and he could move up from that 3rd place. He might be the one challenging Phil. You always can't tell him on shape, but on condition and pure muscle, he's going to be pound for pound hard.
Peter, it's so interesting because now we're talking about, you're saying there's a guy, William Bonac, that you know is going to come in shape, bar none, regardless of what else happens. There's really only one other guy in the open that we can say year in and year out, this guy's going to come in shape, and he's been competing probably since you started covering the Olympia. That's Dexter Jackson, or seemingly so. How is it that these two gentlemen can do it, and especially Dexter, closer to 50 than he is to 40, but that's irrelevant. Yeah. That man comes in shape, but we do see now the possibility of him finally starting to slide down slightly, still probably going to be in the top 5, but now maybe Nathan Diasha finally jumps a Dexter Jackson. Where do you see things landing with those two? Is that where you see the top 5 rounding out? Maybe a Nathan behind William, and then Dexter being 5th? And why do you think it is that, I'd like to say year after year, but decade after decade, Dexter Jackson, again, stamps that he's going to be in shape, period. If you're slipping, he's going to catch you.
That's right, and that's how we won the 2008 Olympia. I mean, you could make a case for Dexter being the greatest bodybuilder of all time, with his 26 wins and all the rest of it, and the number of contests, and the fact that he's going to be 49 in a couple of months. And that's why it hurts me to say this, because he's been so tremendous, but I see signs that, maybe at long last the years are catching up with him a little bit, particularly just slightly in the legs. It's always the legs that are the first to go. Yeah. I don't mean disappear, but you lose their previous fullness and crispness and everything. And I sort of first saw that at the last Olympia, and then this year. That still puts him in the top 6, But he has in the past, if I start to get beaten by guys that I think I should have been before, maybe I'll have to think about, doing something else. But being top 6 in the world isn't
right.
He obviously enjoys it. And I hate to use his age, but I'm saying this going to have to be completely honest, that I see the signs that he's peaked, but he'll battle and he'll be in there. And obviously he's going to catch the judge's eye very quickly, and he'll be in that first call out. And then it's up to him to battle for where he is going to finish up.
Now, where do you see this young man, Nathan Diasha, who's quickly moving up? back from on the other side of the pond, as you guys like to say, who is now here, settled in the States. You know, he's living with his coach, which is a very unique situation. He's settled in. We did an interview with him last week at Gary Udit's North American Championships, and you want to talk about a guy who was all business and laser focused. He says, this is what I do for a living. This is how I put food on the table for my family. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. That sounds like a very dangerous man.
Nathan is from Liverpool. Now, let me tell you about guys from Liverpool. They are blue-collar, working class, in your face. You know, they're like, I don't know, guys from Pittsburgh or New York or Chicago.
That's right.
They really, yeah. There's none of this diplomacy. He's a great family man. He's very driven with his family. He's opening a tremendous deal in Liverpool. I don't know whether you've seen pictures, you know. So he sees this as a business, but he's very, very competitive. He's one of the guys. A lot of the guys in this contest have tapped out on muscle development. It's all about condition, refinement, whatever. He's still growing. He's still getting bigger, still getting better. He's been with Matt Jensen in Tennessee. He shows his drive to be away from those kids that he really loves, and I know that. He's not one of these bodybuilders, you know, that has kids as a trophy or whatever.
Right.
And he's making improvements. I think he's made improvements in his thighs and his hands have to have some more detail in it. The other thing I'd like him to improve on is the way he does his mandatories. You know, he tends to do them awkwardly sometimes. Talk to Matt Jensen about that, and they've worked on it. He'll be so competitive and driven and confident. He's not overawed by any of this. He'll be one to watch. He looks like he enjoys what he's doing. It's not a struggle. I can't do another one. You know, he loves that fighting. And if he's under pressure, he'll come out swinging. So he'll be a real great guy to watch, see what his development is this time out the gate. I mean, he's won 3 or 4 pro shows already, you know.
Yeah, and his back needed to come up, and we've seen just from earlier this year in New York he actually jumped on stage in Pittsburgh for a few minutes, and you saw the difference in the back development from May to now, and it was like, wow. So that'll be very, very interesting. He said by 2020 he plans on being the next Mr. Olympia. By 2020, let's see what happens there. Now, you know, there's a next grouping that's going to be really, really interesting here, Peter. You've got Brandon Curry. Yeah.
Maybe we should throw Rolly Winkler into this group. I mean, here's a guy that turned pro in, I don't know, 2011 with a bang, drifted away, lacked consistency. But this past couple of years, even though he's gone a little up now, he seems to have got it more together. With him, it's usually about the waistline. We've seen him come in prejudging midsection billowing, and it's gone by the evening finals. I don't know how that happens, but if he comes in shape, it'll be a crowd favourite. He's probably got the best arms around, you know, the whole thing, the forearms, tricep, biceps. His only problem is he might be the first guy we ever see who just explodes on stage. You know, because muscle. But one thing I can guarantee, and I hope he takes this the right way, he'll come in smoking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about
Well, you know, that is it. The knock on Rolly has been the lack of control of the midsection and streamlining. And that show earlier this year, I want to say it was the Australia, where you saw the best he's ever looked as far as tapering that waist down. If they could duplicate that, absolutely, he could be fighting for that 4 or 5 spot without a doubt. He'd be hard-pressed to really drop any lower than 6 or 7. So, yeah, you're right. Another very, very dangerous bodybuilder, without a doubt. And Rolly has that attitude that seems like he really, like you said, he's going to come in smoking. He just doesn't seem like he cares, you know. I don't think anything can rattle that guy.
I've spoken to him several times. Not that he should know who I am, but he at times has thought I was Jim Lorimer, that I was Winston Roberts from Canada, and somebody else. And I've never sort of corrected him. So whatever you want to think, just get on with it. But because he's there in his own little world. God love him. I'm not criticizing him. He's always smiling. I mean, he had a jaw injury a few years ago. I'm sorry for this. No, not this on the turn. You know, it's this smart little.
Yeah. If we could all be as stress-free as Rolly Winkler all the time.
Roll the dice, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So this next group here, Peter, is going to really be interesting. You've got Brandon Curry, who's been overseas now and seems to be, that's his comfort zone and his fit. He too is a family man. He too is he's from back in Tennessee, married with kids. He's on the phone and Skyping with them all the time, but he's made that decision to stay over in Kuwait for his training. You've got Sean Roden, who's been a perennial top 5 guy for years. It looks like he's on a decline or starting to descend with the group that we just talked about. We don't think that he's going to be in that first group. You've got Cedric McMillan, who's always a wild card. When he's on, he looks great. Unfortunately, he's not always on. He's off more than he's on. Charles Griffin, who also hooked up with Matt Jansen recently and packs on a load of muscle. His thing was never quite conditioned enough. And he won that show earlier this year where he really nailed his conditioning. And then another Canadian, Big Ian Villar, another guy who packs on a lot of muscle. So that's going to be a really interesting group there to see how that thing shakes out.
Yeah, Brandon Curry is a bit similar to Nathan in attitude in a way. You know, he sacrificed his being with Brandy. I mean, they're such a close couple. They've got 5 kids. And I know it's a sacrifice. But, you know, here's a guy who was wandering around the pro ranks, never realizing his potential, then got the key in Kuwait. You know, he's going to do that maybe for another couple of years and then get out. I thought last year he got the first call out. I saw him as top 6, but he ended up 8th. I think he'll get the first call out again. You know, and Sean Roden, I mean, when it comes to shape and proportion, he's got the best silhouette. If it was just a silhouette contest, he's got the best shape of anybody, you know, with that narrow waist, the billowing thighs. He's an X-frame guy. But you're right. Last couple of years, he's not been as hot as he has been before that. You know, it seemed to be he had some sort of hernia thing. Maybe that's all cleared up. But, you know, it's the change in the guard always happens. You know, people like Victor Martinez and Branch Warren were up there 2 or 3 years. Now it always evolves. You're never stuck with 10 guys for 6 years or whatever. There's always newcomers coming in. And Charles Griffin, yeah, that guy is really hard and really driven. So there are 3 that could be the wild cards. Anything could happen. You know?
Yeah.
And Ian as well, as you mentioned him. That guy is really grainy. Michael Lockett, you know, if it came down to just hard muscle,
yeah.
You know, he's and Sergio. We have to discuss Sergio. Sergio is another one like Nathan in terms of he hasn't tapped out on his potential yet. This is a great Olympia for him to be in. It's a great moment, him following in his father's footsteps. He won't like to hear this, but victory for him would be crashing that top 10. If he did the top 6, that would be absolutely fantastic. But, you know, I'm not saying you should take this as a learning process, but, you know, your first Olympia is always something that you should, you know, take it all in, learn from it, the experience, mix with the guys, and then put it in your top pocket to prepare for next year. And he'll bring the house down. What a personality that guy has got on stage. I mean, he's probably going to get the biggest ovation of the weekend when he comes out.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting, Peter. We talked to him at Tampa, and we actually just released that piece yesterday. For such a personality, and we're talking about the top 10, Sergio is a historian, and he understands the process of all of this, probably as much, if not more, than anybody else in the sport who's newer or has been newer at this level. And he said to both of us, a victory is the top 10. I don't know if that's going to happen for him this year, but he's also been told by everybody, and he's admitted he understands the first year, like you said, soak it up, get in there, and enjoy it. Because after this year, the pressure will start to build and to mount. Then there's going to be expectations, his second and third and fourth and fifth Olympia. Right now, there's no pressure. There's no expectations. He's just a big kid happy to be here.
But I also think, on the other hand, in many ways, it does seem to be, you know, the pressure of being Sergio Oliva's son, maybe a lot of people, certainly most, couldn't handle it. He handles it pretty well. And in some ways, it's almost, I've met people like this out of bodybuilding. They thrive on adversity and drama. And Sergio's always in drama. I mean, last year's New York win, I mean, that was like, you wouldn't write that as a soap opera line, what he went through to win that contest, and he still damn well won it. So I don't know whether that's the spur for him, you know, to sort of take everything as an adversarial thing, to fight against it, and I'll prove you all wrong, and it drives him on his motivation. But he's got such a great attitude. And you're right, up here, when I talk to him about the history, not just of his dad, you know, unfortunately, a lot of modern guys, especially newer guys, they haven't got a sense of what was happening 20, 30, 40 years ago. Sergio has. He's on top of it all.
Absolutely. And, you know, Peter, I wanted to be sure that we mentioned a guy here that not a lot of people will talk about, and nobody's expecting to crack the top 10 or the top 5 or anything. But he really represents the blue-collar working man. Anybody who's been in bodybuilding, who turns pro and goes into the open, some people just understand there's limits to where they can go genetically, but they still love the sport. And to be able to even qualify for the Mr. Olympia, this is something he'll remember for the rest of his life. He had his family involved with him signing his contract and the video, and that's one Josh Wade. And that's another guy that you can guarantee he will probably be the most. We know William, no disrespect to William Bonnick and Dexter Jackson, but he will probably be the most conditioned guy because that's what he can bring. Right. So I think it's hats off to a guy like him who represents the group of guys who nobody ever really gave a shot at ever making it to the Olympia. Congratulations, you're a professional bodybuilder. It's over. But here he is. So kudos to you, Josh Wade.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, he's maybe more inspirational than that of Phil Heath. You can look at Phil and say, he's got a fantastic physique. But I can't follow his example. But you could follow Josh's example by fighting, making the best of what you've got and coming in condition, being disciplined and getting your act together as best you can and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, and one that has drifted away, but from what I've seen this year, could be coming to it, is Juan Morel. He's another guy that, you know, was always on an improvement curve. Had a couple of years where it was in and out, but I just got a feeling that he's going to be better than he has been the last 2 or 3 years. Maybe his best ever. There's all sorts of scenarios here, isn't there? They're all fighting for something. You know, it's all reputation and respect. And even getting on the Olympia stage qualifying, you've got to be respected.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, You may not be here physically in person, but you are here. We're glad you're on with us. We did announce to everybody last night. Those of you who don't know, welcome Peter McGough to Team MMR. You guys will be seeing a lot more of him the end of this year and all of next year. So you are back, and we couldn't be happier. You also have a big article that you wrote that'll be out tomorrow. It's a must-read, guys. It's on Flex Lewis, and wow, I had a chance to read it last night, and it's really something, Peter. We couldn't be happier to have you here with us and really leading the way. So thank you very much. And I'm going to let you wrap us up and take us out of this thing, sir.
Mandus, we first met 3 years ago, and we had a 3-hour conversation.
Yes.
We connected there. So, you know, I'm in a phase where I was sort of taking a back seat and everything. But I feel I've still got something to give and some knowledge. And I've always felt it's the duty of the more mature members of the community to pass it on. And the way Maximum Muscle is going, the coverage and everything, I know it's a different time, but I see that you doing what I did 30, 35 years ago, having an idea, making it happen, and then suddenly, you know, it all works out. It works out not because of ability. You can have all the ability in the world. It's application, it's work ethic. Same as a bodybuilder. You have fabulous genetics, but unless you put the work in, it's not going to happen. So I'm very happy to be with this group. And yeah, I'm looking to be more involved. And so thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Peter. Well, on that note, guys, that'll wrap up our wrap-up of the 2018 or our preview of the 2018 Mr. Olympia. We hope you guys enjoyed this. Stay tuned for much, much more. Peter and I will sit down Sunday to wrap up what we saw and what happened on the 2018 Olympia stage. Until next time, guys, Mandus Buckle, Peter McGough. This is Maximum Muscle Report 2018 Olympia. We'll see you all soon.
Great.